Good morning, everybody. Tim Barnes here from Barnes Violins. In today's video, we wanted to offer a few suggestions to players when it's time for them to upgrade their instruments, particularly to a nicer, more fine instrument. I'd say anything plus side of $10,000 and going higher. I'd like to remind you to please like and subscribe and leave any topics or questions, comments in the comment section below, and we'll be happy to get back with you. If you have suggestions for other topics that you'd like for us to do videos on, please let us know. I just wanted to discuss a few points that we run into when we're working with customers, clients, when they're ready to upgrade their instruments, especially to more advanced things. The first thing is when students, clients, customers are auditioning advanced, more sophisticated instruments, their response can tend to be negative. They immediately don't care for it or whatnot is the initial response. And we find a lot of the time that this really is due to their bow technique. What we find is that players, especially advanced ones, and some players that play quite well, have learned to adjust their technique. And I'm just, being a violist, I'm pulling a viola out here and just showing a little bit with this. This happens to be a very nice American viola made by Gary Vessel, very fine instrument. And what we find is folks, when they're auditioning, they play the nicer, more advanced instrument in exactly the same fashion that they've played their previous instrument. And one, it doesn't work, and number two, more sophisticated instruments have more choices within the instrument. So in other words, what I'm really talking about here is a lot of the time what we see is folks will come in, their bow will be tilted quite a bit forward, which is used a lot of the time for orchestral playing, and whatnot, and that's fine. But when you're auditioning an instrument and trying to really see what it'll do, you want to really use the different palette of the abilities of the bow to do many different things. And that includes flatter hair sometimes slightly tilted hair, positioning of the bow, which is going to have to do with either more towards the fingerboard, more towards the bridge, and at least trying a lot of these different placements of the bow in terms of your contact point. The other huge thing that comes up with finer instruments, better quality instruments, is that many times players have learned to navigate and get the most out of their previous instrument by using brute force. They just push and use a lot of physical pressure to get the biggest sound they can out of that instrument. Now, with more sophisticated, nicer, better quality instruments, it's not going to be a pressure type thing that's going to give you a lot of response. You want to really start to learn to use bow speed and to really almost tickle the string, but more in the way of speed to get volume and not pushing and using pressure. That's another thing that really helps tremendously when trying to get a sense of what a higher quality instrument can offer. So essentially what I'm saying is that it's important to try to open up and use different aspects, particularly of your bow technique, when you're auditioning finer instruments, higher quality, and to try not to play it in exactly the same way that you've been playing your previous instrument. This is not such an easy thing to do because with lots of practice, we learn things, repeat, and we've learned to do things in such a way that it works and whatnot. So I'm just trying to present a video here that might be helpful for younger players, but who are advancing and playing beautifully, that as they move up the ranks and up levels in playing and need a better instrument because they've outgrown their previous instrument, being open to many different aspects of their technique is part of the process with learning to see and understand and be able to experience what a finer instrument can offer. I wanted to touch on briefly also that for parents and the people that are paying the money for the instruments, you want to feel very confident about your purchase, that you've got good credibility, one, from where you buy the instrument, and then number two, that you've got good credibility in terms of the paperwork and documentation so that there's not a question about the value of this instrument, and you can corroborate these things. Now, the wonderful thing with tools and technology is that we can check other sources just to feel very confident, especially when we're going to spend a good bit of money on an investment. And that's the other thing I wanted to say to parents as well, to think of when you're getting something that's expensive for your student, child, getting ready for college or whatever it is, if they're serious players, it's important to keep the perspective, and I say this as a parent as well, as a business owner. This is an investment and not an expense. This is something that you invest in your child, in the student, for the long haul. These are low-tech devices that don't lose their value. We don't think twice about spending $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 on iPads, MacBooks, or whatever it might be. And generally, we're pretty lucky if we get a couple of years out of them, and then they're disposed of and we go get new. And we don't think anything about that. When you purchase a really nice violin, viola, cello, or bass, one, it's going to hold its value. A lot of the time, they're going to increase in value as well. So investment-wise, very good thing. And they don't wear out. They don't become obsolete. They continue to be viable and usually will improve over time. So thank you so much. Please like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments if you've got any questions or things that we could answer in regards to this topic. I hope you find it somewhat helpful and maybe even a little interesting. Thank you so much. Have a great day.